Thank you for joining us. My name is Mason. His name is Gautam. This is Getaway Day, the podcast, episode 1. We're a couple of college buddies who met. We do need some intro music, Dilip. I think you're the man to create that, if I'm not mistaken. We're a couple of college buddies who met basically through baseball in the common area of our floor. Started watching games as much as we could. Ended up living together for 5 years. No longer live together. Still love to talk about baseball. Have a group chat for it. Figured this is the best way for us to have our conversations about Lord knows what, baseball related. Mostly MLB, occasionally some minor leagues. I'm going to let Gautam go ahead and take it away and let you know how we're going to let things run tonight. Keep in mind, this
Yeah,
may change.
yeah. Thanks, Mason. So hopefully we can give the people what they want. We're going to continue talking about baseball whether we have a podcast or not. But this is a way to share our passion for the game and hopefully teach teach people something new and just enjoy some baseball. Um, on today's episode, we're gonna spend some time talking about some players we're excited to watch in the 2021 season, as well as some teams that we think are maybe a little bit overrated or underrated. And then we're going to finish up with a fun little segment talking about some of the mascots around the league.
We've got the 5 best and
So,
the single worst mascot in all of Major League Baseball. So stay tuned.
all right. So, uh, we finally made it. It was a long off season, long winter. The season starts officially in 3 days. Opening day, Thursday. Um, let's talk about some players that we're really excited to see um, how they do this season. Who do you got, Mason?
All right, so I'm going to start with a hitter. So I've got a hitter and then 2 pitchers actually, and I believe you have a pitcher and a hitter as well, right? So
You could say a pitcher and a hitter, or
don't
two
don't spoil it.
hitters
Um,
and a pitcher.
all right, so I'll go ahead and start with my hitter. So the guy that I am most excited to see this year is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. 22-year-old kid up in Toronto. His daddy was an expo out in, I think he played in LA, he played in Washington. Vladdy is a beast. At 22 years old, I think he has a overall prospect grade, or he had an overall prospect grade, a future value of 70, then 80 hit tool, I think like a 70 or 80 raw power. Fielding is somewhere around 50. Speed current value 40, future value 30. Basically, the kid is a stud, and he just needs to break out, and then he will be the superstar everyone expects him to be. Some of the reasons I'm excited to see Vladdy this year in rookie ball back in 2016 at the age of 17, he hit 271 with a 122 WRC plus, 12.7 strikeout percentage, and a 12% walk percentage in 60 games. So as a 17-year-old at rookie ball, where I think the average age is, 19 years old, roughly? He was 2 years
Yep,
younger than the
probably up to
average,
20.
and he was hitting with a 122 WRC plus, 22% better than the average. When he hit A ball, it gets even better. He was hitting 316 with a 151 WRC plus. He brought his K percent down to 10.7. Walk stayed right at about 12 in 71 games. Then in 48 games at high A, hit 333 with a 179 WRC plus. So you see that trend. Average keeps getting better. WRC plus keeps getting better. Strikeouts are staying about the same. His walks actually went up. In 2018 AA, 61 games, 402 average, 203 WRC plus, 10% K percentage, 7.9% walk percentage. Walks went down, strikeouts came down too. And then AAA, same story. And then we get to the majors, and things changed.
Let me
123
jump.
games.
Can I just jump in here for a quick minute? So,
Yeah, go for
so
it.
basically, Vladdy was like a complete beast in the minor leagues. Never really faced a challenge. And what you're going to get to now is kind of the first struggles he'd ever seen probably in his entire life. playing baseball at any level. So the thing that kind of stuck out to me this offseason was something that he said, that he had kind of seen the other like young stars around the league, like Ronald Acuna, Fernando Tatis. He saw those players and he said, I want to be like those players. And in his offseason work, losing like a huge amount of weight, this guy's maybe he was riding on just his talent level. And this is the first time he's really had to work for what he's trying to achieve. So good.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and that actually brings me right into what I've seen over his one and I guess his 2 full seasons technically, but I'll let you decide if 2020 60-game season is considered full or not. 2019, 272 average in the majors. As a 20-year-old kid, 20-year-old kid, that's still pretty good. 123 games. He had a 105 WRC plus, so just above league average there in runs created, or weighted runs created. 17.7% K rate and an 8.9 walk rate. So his strikeouts ballooned when he made it to the majors, which makes sense because, as you said, he's never really faced that big of a struggle. He's never faced guys pitching at the major league level. So 2019, he got a taste of that. 2020, 60-game season, his average came down to 262. WRC plus went up, though, to 112. His K rate started to come down. Walk rate stayed about the same. I expect this year, with his pure talent and putting in the work, we'll see that K rate come down a little bit more. We'll see his on-base percentage go up because he is such a talented hitter. And so you'll start to see Vladdy perform to that level that everyone thinks he can.
Yep, I completely agree. Like, he's got all the talent in the world, and now that he's feel like he's fully dedicated himself to the craft, he's really going to put together a big season. I think the last thing that he needs to figure out is launch angle, sort of, to become the home run hitter that everyone really wants him to be.
Yeah, he did in 2019. He had a launch angle of 6%, and in 2020 he had 4%. So he line drives the ball all the time.
Too many
his
ground
average,
balls for a player.
The other thing that I noticed is his hard hit percentage went up from 40 to 50 between 19 and 20. His exit velocity, average exit velocity, climbed 3 mile per hour. And then something else that kind of intrigues me with Vladdy is his expected stats and his stats pretty much match for everything. Like his WOBA xWOBA within 0.01. His expected average within 0.016. So Vladdy doesn't really struggle with bad luck, good luck. He is a pull straightaway hitter. But he's a righty, and so you shift less on righties. So that won't be as big an issue. As he starts getting a little bit better, starts hitting it more, they may start to shift on him a little bit more, unless Major League Baseball starts implementing some of the shift bands that they're trying out in single A or double
A. Not sure. I think double A.
Yeah, so he could be one of those right-handed hitters that's going to benefit if they decide to change some of the rules there around the shift. But that is really all I had on Vladdy. I guess, are there any other points you've got there? If not, then go ahead and get to your first guy.
Yeah, sure. So my player that I picked was Austin Riley. So he's the third baseman for the Braves. It's his third season in the major leagues, but this will be his first full season. I think Riley is really set up to have a really big year. So he's in a really nice spot in that he doesn't have to be the guy for his team. He's batting behind like some of the biggest stars in the game: Freddie Freeman, 2020 MVP, Ronald Acuna, probably a guy that's going to be a perennial MVP candidate for years to come. I want to talk about Riley. So Riley is similarly to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but maybe not to the same extent, but he sort of destroyed the minor leagues. When he was 20 years old at Double A, he was 62% above average with the bat. Then the Braves made him repeat Double-A the next season, and he actually improved upon that and became 94% better than league average at that level. That same season, he got the call to Triple-A, and he put up 27% above average line, 12 home runs, and a 29% K rate, which is a little bit high for the Triple-A level, because usually a guy's going to perform or strike out a little bit more when they get to the majors. The next season, he had to repeat Triple-A again, and what did he do? Improve across the board. Became 46% above average with 15 home runs in just 44 games, and he cut that K rate to 20%. He gets to the major leagues, and he strikes out a ton, 36% in 2019. But then in 2020, he only struck out 23% of the time. So that was the biggest decrease in strikeout rate across the major leagues from 2019 to 2020. So this is a guy that every time you make him repeat a level or you give him more at-bats, he continues to improve. I'm really expecting that to happen again in 2021.
All right. Cool. Looks like Lord Adorabler is more into F1 than baseball here, looking at Sonoda, I think is how you pronounce that. Dope. Yeah, I think Austin Riley, I don't have numbers on him, but just watching that kid, he has the tools to be, if he's a good, or if he's even an average defender, he has the tools to be a really good major league player.
Yeah, one other thing I'll add on Riley is that the Braves, obviously a World Series contender, or they want to be, but they didn't go out and try to get a veteran third baseman. They've pretty much given Riley the job, so he's not going to have to be moving between the outfield and third base, learning a new position. They've given him the third base job, so let's see if he runs with it.
But if he struggles, I wouldn't put it past the Braves to make a move here at the trade deadline either. If he's struggling and they need a third baseman and that's the piece that'll put him over the line, they'll do it. So I think Austin Riley's got a fire lit under his ass.
Yeah.
But so let's see if he can take it. So, and then
what are your pitchers?
My pitchers. I actually have two pitchers, and I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that some of the more casual baseball fans don't know who they are. So I actually have two. It's Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter, who are the number 1 and 2 pitchers for the Vanderbilt Commodores in NCAA. Kumar Rocker is a junior this year. I think he's been projected to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft by the Pirates this year forever until recently, and I'll get to that in a minute. Kumar Rocker, in 3 years, only 1 full season. Last year shortened for COVID. This year just started. I think we're maybe, 6 or 7 games into the season? No, it's more than that, but we're maybe 10 games into the season, so he's only got a few starts under his belt this year. But he's got 24 starts. In 2019, his freshman season, through 99 and 2/3 innings, the 114 Ks. That equates to, adding in the couple starts last year and this year as well, he's got a career college K per 9 of 11.7, walks per 9 of only 2.4, and back in 2019 in the Super Regionals of the College World Series, he no-hit Duke in an elimination game with 19 Ks. So that kid is a beast. He is a favorite to be in the top 5 draft picks, if not number 1. And his biggest competition for number 1 is his teammate, Jack Leiter. The last name may sound familiar. His daddy was pretty good too. Al Leiter, major league pitcher for the Mets.
Yeah, the Mets among other teams.
Yeah. So Jack is also a junior, although he's only played 2 seasons in college, which kind of strikes me as a little odd. He has a 15.2 K per 9 in 5 games that he's pitched this year, 3.4 walks per 9 this year. Last week, he no-hit the South Carolina Gamecocks, go Cox, with 16 strikeouts. And then his next start, he threw 7 no-hit innings against Mizzou. The combined no-hit bid was blown with 2 outs in the 9th inning, so he did not get a no-hitter there. The one thing that kind of doesn't really concern me, but I think could potentially drop his stock value a little bit, is Leiter's only played college baseball for 2 seasons. Both of them one of them was the shortened 2020 season, and then this season just started, so he's only got 8 starts in 2 years. And the draft will be before the season is technically even over. So those are my 2 pitchers that I want to watch. I think that if they get drafted, those are probably the 2 guys that have been the best college pitchers in years, since probably 2011, roughly. My voice went out there a little bit. But I think 11 was Sale and Strasburg, or just Strasburg, and Sale was before that by a year.
I think Sale was the year before, but yeah, Strasburg was probably the most hyped pitching prospect out of college that we've seen in quite some time, and this is kind of getting to that level.
And it didn't take him long to make the majors, so.
Right.
I think he was the next season. Chris Sale was the same season. And then I think last year we actually had a guy who was drafted and debuted in the same year, right?
Yep. Garrett Crochet. Also with the White Sox, yeah.
So we'll see. Those are my 2 guys. And then
either way, the Pirates and the Rangers are going to be getting some good ones, whoever it is.
Watch the Rangers screw it up and not take either one of them. But
it'll be hard to do, but yeah.
All right, and then your pitcher.
Yeah, so even if you know nothing about baseball, I'm sure you know Babe Ruth. So that's who my player is closest comp to, and that would be Shohei Ohtani, the two-way sensation. So he hits home runs, he hits for average, he throws a ball 100 miles per hour. So hopefully this is the year he can put it all together, no injuries, and be the MVP candidate that he has a talent to be. So how many innings and how many at-bats do you think Ohtani needs to win the MVP, assuming his performance is similar to what he showed in 2018, but over a shorter period of time? I feel like he needs around 120 innings and maybe 450 at-bats.
Yeah, I was thinking right
if
around
he
that.
Can do that at the level.
I was thinking right around the 400, 450 at-bat mark. I'd say if he gets above 100 innings, because they're going to go 6-man rotation if they can. So lower inning counts for everybody. Be a little bit more careful with Ohtani because his bat is so potent. You don't want him to get hurt. So if he's got even a twinge of soreness, you're not starting him that day. So I think 100 innings, 400 at-bats.
Yeah. So hopefully he can stay healthy. Supposedly he changed up his off-season routine, kind of working on some things to be able to maintain his strength across the long season. It's always fun to watch a two-way player, and honestly, we haven't seen one at this level since Babe Ruth, which is pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah, and we'll see if that translates to more two-way players here in the future with Brendan McKay and some of these other guys who have the potential to be a two-way. Michael Lorenzen, none of them are nearly as good as Ohtani, but we might start a trend here. So
hopefully, and as well as anyone, how enamored of this guy I am. I feel like I was texting you every 2 days saying, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did this. He hit another home run. He hit 2 home runs.
Yep, and then he did something in spring training this year that no one's done, I think, literally since Babe Ruth. He led off a game that he pitched.
Very cool. Hopefully we can see that happen sometime this season.
Yeah, Hopefully, it'd have to be in a National League ballpark, but
Yep.
it'd be cool. And this is the last time that it could possibly happen too.
Seems like it. Yep.
So, all right, cool. So, any closing thoughts on any of the excited players or any honorable mentions?
I'm ready to move on.
All right. So, it seems like it's the right time to go ahead and start predicting how teams are going to do this season. I don't want to do that. That's overrated. Everyone does it. Speaking of overrated, I think we should pick one team that we think is the most overrated and underrated to 2021. Give me your underrated team. Who you got?
Sure. So the way I looked at this question, I was thinking a lot about how baseball teams are viewed. So there's always expectations with teams like the Yankees and the Dodgers. Their expectation is to win the World Series every single year. And then teams like the Pirates, they know they have no chance. Even their most loyal fans know they have no chance to win the World Series this year. So it's all kind of baseline to the different expectations that the teams have in their fan bases. So the team I picked out to be the most, maybe not the most underrated, but an underrated team is the Mariners. And I went about that by looking at like win totals in Vegas. So the win total from the William Hill Sportsbook, the Mariners is 73.5. That just seems too low for the Mariners. They have a lot of young talent coming up the pipe. First being Jared Kelenic, who will probably be with the team in a matter of weeks once the service time deadline passes. Taylor Trammell made the opening day roster. He's going to be the starting left fielder. They've got some young pitchers in Logan Gilbert and Emerson Hancock coming at some point this year, next year, and a couple other prospects, Noelvi Marte and Julio Rodriguez. These are some of the most highly regarded prospects in the game right now. So whatever Jerry DiPoto, the general manager of the Mariners, has been doing all these years, making all these trades, it was for the next few seasons when the Mariners window is really going to open. And then at the same time, the AL West is kind of seeing a change in the guard. So the Astros have had their run of dominance. They're still obviously a good team, but teams like they're losing some of their players. Springer's gone. Altuve is kind of declining. So the Astros' time seems like it might be over now. Never know with the Angels. Obviously, Texas is awful. So they don't really play in a too tough a division. So I feel like when there's a lot of young prospects coming for a team like this, sometimes they can come a lot faster and kind of overperform our expectations for a team like that. So that's why I think they can easily top 73.5 wins. What do you think?
Yeah, I really like this Mariners team. I don't think Taylor Trammell is going to be there very long. I think Kelenic is going to take his spot, and he'll be on the bench. We'll see what happens. I think Mitch White? That's right.
Evan White. Evan White.
Mitch White was
the first baseman.
Yeah, Mitch White was the dude from the... No, that was Tyler White. I don't know who Mitch White is. I'm making up names again. Yeah, Evan White, though, I think people are kind of forgetting about him. He signed that really team-friendly deal, didn't play well last year. He's not I think he still has rookie status, right?
Probably not, because he played the entire season because he signed the extension before he debuted.
Right. Yeah, but I think he's one of those guys that he might maybe not break out, but he could be significantly better this year, and I think that'll be a big help as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great call actually. So, the thing with Evan White is like looking at his StatCast page right now, he struck out a ton. Like he was in the first first percentile in K percentage. So that means like basically no one struck out more than him. Yet when he did hit the ball, he was in the 87th percentile for exit velocity. So when this guy was making contact, he was doing damage. He just needs to do that more consistently, and he could be like a really good player.
Yeah, and I don't think he had a ton of time in the minors either. So that could explain a little bit of his high strikeout rate coming up to the majors so quickly. So I
Definitely.
think getting him a little bit of time, settling in, getting some more at bats. It kind of the same thing with Vladdy. They're so young that give them time, they'll see more pitches. They'll be better at picking out the pitches that they want to hit, laying off pitches that are way out of the zone, and I think they'll both be some pretty big improvements here this year. Which pretty much everything you said, ditto to my team. Maybe not everything, but I don't have the line for you here for them, but I've got the Kansas City Royals. I think everyone forgets about them. That division is maybe not the strongest division in the majors, but it's not a bad division by any means. You got the White Sox. You have the Twins. Both of those teams could very easily run away with that division. Or it could be neck and neck between them. But I think the Royals have a really legit shot to be third in that division. I mean, Cleveland is kind of given up at this point. They traded Lindor. They traded Cookie. They're probably going to trade Jose by the trade deadline this year. They have a rotation and nothing else. So I expect the Royals to basically be that young team in that division that takes a huge step forward. The Royals have been bottom feeders in that division basically since they won the World Series in 2015. I think maybe 2016 they were still decent, and then they started going downhill. Alex Gordon got older. They lost Moose. They lost Hosmer. They lost Salvi to Tommy John here 2 years ago, 2019.
Yeah, their pitching has been pretty bad since the World Series run.
Yeah, and they've just been miserable. But this year, they lost Alex Gordon to retirement. They lost some dead weight in Matt Harvey. Bubba Starling, he's one of those guys that he was basically a replacement level player. He might find a home somewhere else and be a bench guy, but I wouldn't expect him to be anything big. Maikel Franco is gone. Ian Kennedy's probably their biggest loss. I mean, Alex Gordon was a replacement level player the last year or two of his contract. So Ian Kennedy's their biggest loss, but then they added Andrew Benintendi, Mike Minor. Carlos Santana is going to take over for Ryan O'Hearn at first base. That in and of itself is a huge upgrade. Gerard Dyson's back in the outfield. Michael A. Taylor is one of those free agents that I did not realize went to the Royals. So they have an entire new outfield now. Greg Holland signed another contract with them, so he's back. Wade Davis, he just signed back with the Royals this year after being bouncing around the league and being pretty god-awful since he played for the Cubs here a couple years back. But I think the biggest thing that people are going to overlook, this is going to make or break the season. Jacob Junis changed his number. He's now number 24. I think that's the little bit of magic they needed.
Yeah, I think you got to give them credit for actually trying and going and get some free agents like Santana, and then actually making a trade for a meaningful like player for your team for the present rather than the future in getting Benintendi.
And they gave up Khalil Lee, who could be a really promising young player, but to get Benintendi, it's worth every bit.
Benintendi's had a couple like rough seasons, but obviously he's shown a lot of potential, and that it's like a perfect kind of like buy low scenario for the Royals to see if they can get him to rediscover what made him like an all-star type player with the Red Sox.
Yeah, and he's been one of my personal guys for bounce back candidate here this year. So I've been kind of looking for his cards online, seeing if there's anything that's good value, but he's a Red Sox, so card prices are a little inflated just because of that. Couple bright spots for the Royals that I see could play a factor into this year. Heading their rotation, or maybe not heading their rotation, but basically their number 2 guy behind Mike Minor, Brady Singer. He's a pitch-to-contact guy, but his ground ball rate is insane. Kid is just hella good. I mean, I didn't want to bog this one down with stats because I don't think that they're going to win the division by any means. But just Brady Singer, I think he's a player to watch. And then we've got Daniel Lynch. I think he might be up later this year.
Definitely.
Jackson Cower could be up this year. He might be next year, but he's probably going to be up this year. So they've got some good young pitchers who could come up and be meaningful for that team. And they signed Salvi to that 4-year, $82 million extension. He's only 30 years old. I forget it every time. It surprises me every time.
It's hard to believe he's been in the majors for about 10 years.
There's three things that surprise me every single time I hear them again. Nolan Arenado's a Cardinal. Still don't believe it. Not sure I ever will. But it's happened. Salvi is only 30 and Jay Bruce is only 32.
That is hard to believe. Wait, Jay Bruce is only 32?
Or 33? He's really young. Jay Bruce is 33. My bad.
He's been around since 2008, I think.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
He'll be 34 on Sunday.
All right. He's the starting first baseman of the Yankees.
Is he really?
His boy is injured.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, that makes me sad. All right, well, and then the one other thing that I think could basically make or break the Royals season, and this is my last point, and then we'll move on to your overrated team here, is Mondesi going to be worth a damn? Kid's fast. Kid is so fast.
He's a great defender. He's a very, very fast and good base stealer. His hitting is just about average, though.
Yeah,
so.
and that's the thing. It's like if he can be a slightly above average hitter, I think he could basically take that team and make it a contender. Maybe not for winning the division, but for a wild card spot. So, all right. Who you got for overrated?
All right. Overrated. I think the Mets are overrated. And not to say that they're a bad team at all. I think they did a lot of things to improve their depth. But I don't know if they made the real impactful things that they need to compete in their division. So, or maybe they'll compete in the division, but maybe not win it. So, first off, their rotation. They've got the best pitcher in MLB, Jacob deGrom, heading that up. I don't think that's a controversial statement to make.
No argument here. So.
Okay. I thought you were going to give me some like Trevor Bauer stuff or something.
Trevor Williams, but I didn't want to blow your mind with that.
Oh yeah.
So
that would break my brain.
He's a Cub now, isn't he?
He is.
Oh God, I don't want him to be the best. I take it back.
Anyways, so behind DeGrom, that's where the concerns start. So Carrasco is hurt. They've got Taijuan Walker, who is usually hurt. He's not hurt right now. He's a pretty talented pitcher, but he's never really proved it over a full season, over multiple seasons. And then at the back end, they have like Joey Lucchesi and David Peterson. These are just like staff filler types. They're not really the guys you want. But then their number 2 pitcher right now is Marcus Stroman, who's been a very good pitcher, but comes with the caveat that he's not really a big strikeout guy, so he has to have his defense working behind him. And one of my biggest issues with the Mets is their defense is atrocious. They've got guys out there like J.D. Davis playing third base. That guy is just a straight up DH. He should not be on the field at all. He was worth -7 outs above average in 56 games last season.
Damn.
And we're talking about a counting stat. Like, this is not like a rate stat. So he actually was giving the other team outs basically. And then
Dom's
Alonso,
not much better, is he?
right? So the issue with Dom Smith is he's a great hitter, just like many of these guys in the Mets lineup, but they're not good defenders. And Dom is like a first baseman. He's okay at first base, but they're having him play outfield. So that's not a great situation to be in. Then Alonso is a terrible first baseman, and Nimmo is not great in center field. Both Nimmo and Alonso were worth -5 outs above average each in 2020, the shortened season. So this combination with Stroman, I mean, they do have Francisco Lindor. That obviously helps. He's one of the best shortstop defenders out there, but he's just one guy.
Come on, Lindor can play all over the field at the same time. He's done it before.
Yeah, Bugs Bunny style.
Yeah, exactly like that.
They need that. Yeah, so my issue is with their defense, and then most of their starting rotation is a little bit suspect. Their hitting is obviously amazing. They're going to put up plenty of runs, but their Vegas win total is 90. And they play in the NL East, which is probably the most competitive division around the majors. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I could see that. The Braves are a great team. The Phillies, I think, you can make an argument that the Phillies are overrated, but I think they're a good team. The Marlins are an improved team. The Nationals can't be as bad as they were last year because
they tried to improve too. They went out and got Josh Bell and Kyle Schwarber. So,
yep.
I mean, these teams are really trying for it. It's going to be really competitive. I don't see how they win 90 games.
Yeah, no, I don't either. But no, and I think they've got Almora and Conforto in the outfield. Now, Almora is a plus defender. Conforto is okay. I mean, he's probably an average right field defender. I think people think he's worse than he is, but yeah, I think 3 decent defenders and James McCann at catcher probably not gonna do it for him. But and then my overrated team is kind of along the same lines. I have another team that is a really good team on paper. And for some reason, I just have this gut feeling that it's not going to work out. My team is the White Sox. And the biggest key for me now is Eloy Jimenez is out 5 to 6 months with a torn pectoral muscle or a ligament in his pec or something like that. That is a huge blow for that team, who is a team that is basically focused on young offensive production. I think Grandal is maybe the oldest guy on the team now, and even he's just a hitting god. Switch hitting catcher there, and he can just smack it out of the park. Chicago #1. Nah. I think the Twins are going to win that division, but that's just me. But no, the guys who I think are going to be the make or break for the team, because I have no doubt in my mind Abreu's going to be good. Tim Anderson's going to be good. I think Yohan Moncada is going to be decent this year. You've got Lubob in the outfield. You've got Adam Engel and Adam Eaton.
Yeah, so Eaton is, I guess, penciled in as the starting right fielder right now, but Engel will probably get in some sort of platoon with him once he comes back from his injury. So
Okay.
they're pretty thin in the outfield right now.
Do they have Leiter still?
Yeah.
So he'll be out there or a bench bat at least. If
Yeah,
not,
he might get some
so.
additional playing time, yeah.
Yeah. But my biggest concern is with their rotation. I think there's 2 guys there that could be some of the best pitchers in the league, or they could completely fall apart this year, and I don't know which one they're going to do. It's Dallas Keuchel and Lance Lynn. Keuchel, the last 2 years, he's been good if you look at his, normal, basic, everyone understands him stats. You look at his ERA, it's been pretty solid. He throws a lot of innings. I think his strikeouts are decent. He had a 2.24 ERA plus in last year, but his FIP ERA differentials have been over 1, which is big, right?
Yeah, it's big, but he's kind of always been that pitch to contact type guy, so that tends to happen where the ERA exceeds the, or I guess the other way around, where the FIP exceeds
Yeah,
the
exceeds
ERA.
the ERA. Yeah, but the the defense with the White Sox is going to be the big thing there, and I think the Cardinals proved it best that you can go from being either or the best defensive team to the worst in a year without changing players, or the worst to the best. It is possible. So with Keuchel, it's entirely dependent on the defense behind him. With Aloy out, they've now got someone in left that is not their everyday left fielder.
Oh, I guarantee he's
Aloy's
going to
not the
be
best
over
defender
Eloy.
in the league by any means, but I don't know. I think that would be a little suspect for me. It's just one of those nagging suspicions. Plus, Keuchel's 33. I mean, 33 for pitchers seems to be now when they're hitting their prime, especially if they've had Tommy John at some point in their life. I don't get it, but that's a thing now. So he could be good. Last year, he did only have a .3 home runs per 9, which I expect that to regress because that was the only time he's ever done that in his career.
Yeah, that's a little ridiculous. That will not keep up.
Yeah, the lowest home runs per 9 he's had other than this 2020 shortened season was I think it was his second season. So 7 years ago, he had a .7 homers per 9, which even that's low. He usually floats around 1.1 to 1.2 or 1.3, somewhere in there. So I expect that to regress. His ERA plus is going to come down, so he's not going to be quite as good as he was last year. Lance Lynn, he had his lowest whip since his rookie season last year. It was, I think, below 1, which he's never had below a 1.2. And then when he did it in his rookie season and was under that 1.2, 16 of his 18 games were out of the bullpen. So he was throwing higher velocity pitches, throwing less pitches, throwing fewer different types of pitches. Then so he had a 1.06 whip last year. His FIP ERA differential is also about 1. He is a little bit more of a strikeout guy than Keuchel. I know his fastball percentage, or percent of pitches he throws as fastballs, dropped below 70 for the first time in 2020. His sliders increased to 23% last year. First time that's eclipsed 20. And then his ground balls per fly ball ratio of 0.84 was the lowest it's ever been last year. So I'd expect that to regress as well. Get back to that 1 that it's been in the past, or that higher than 1. So I think those are the two guys. If they regress from how they've been, that team, losing Aloy, may not be nearly as good as we think.
We'll add one more thing. Actually, I got 2 facts about Lance Lynn for you.
Go for it.
First fact is he's pitched 37 straight games where he's thrown at least 100 pitches, which is by far the longest active streak.
Expect it to keep going. TLR's the manager.
Absolutely, yeah. So I feel like Lance Lynn is kind of the perfect guy to have in your 2021 rotation because you are not worried about like innings at all. This guy eats them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's why he's 270 pounds.
I think in the shortened season last year, he led the league with like 80 innings or 85.
I think so,
something
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yep. Then the second, which doesn't really have anything to do with this conversation, is did you know that Lance Lynn was a switch hitter?
I did not know. Wait.
Well, he is. I mean, you probably knew it at the time, but you probably forgot.
In the majors he was?
I mean, it just says he's a switch hitter.
Because I know there's a lot of guys who were switch hitters as far as pitchers. There's a lot of guys that were switch hitters until they made the majors, and then they made them pick the right side or whatever was not their pitching arm in the front.
I see.
So, because I know Bob Gibson was like that. There's another Cardinals pitcher that I can't think of who it is off the top of my head, but it'll come to me. But yeah, and then my last point with the White Sox, and this is probably the biggest one for me. Tony La Russa is now their manager. He's like 80 years old. He gets DUIs like they're candy. I love pre-2012 TLR. Don't get me wrong. Big fan of 2011 and prior. Love the guy. Since 2012, a little less of a fan. He's old school AF. I don't know how that's going to mesh with this really young and fun White Sox team that is kind of like Fernando Tatis Jr., where they break some unwritten rules every now and again. TLR is not going to be fine with that.
Tim Anderson doing some like
amazing bat flips.
Yeah.
Tim Anderson is going to get so mad at Tony one of these games that he's going to bat flip it into Tony's face. I'm calling it right now.
Yeah.
But
I feel like this can go either amazing or just absolutely terrible, like runaway caboose, like bad.
Yeah.
I guess something might happen, and then like the whole clubhouse might just blow up. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So, I don't know. That's all I've got on the White Sox. So, I think those are our overrated and underrated teams. Underrated, look for the Royals and the Mariners to kind of outperform expectations. They got some young guys that are on the cusp of being pretty darn good major league players. Overrated, the Mets and the White Sox. Good teams, but can they seal the deal, win their divisions? There's a lot of question marks. I wouldn't be shocked if they did, but I wouldn't be shocked if they don't. So, all right. So, the last segment of the day. It's time for mascots. Opening day, I think, is probably the day of the season where mascots are most in focus. I know home opener in St. Louis, they paraded Fred Bird around. He's with the Clydesdales and the Hall of Famers, and he's a big part of that. Brings a lot of fun to the stadium. Even last year, whenever people weren't allowed in the stands, they still let the mascots in, and they did some gags that were pretty darn fun. And so I decided to go ahead and rank both the worst and the best mascots. So I'll go ahead and start with my top 5 best mascots. At number 5, we have Mr. Red. Mr. Red has been around since 1955. He's been on the Reds uniforms basically since that time. He's had incarnations walking around the stadium. I think he was basically shut down for a while and brought back. He's really, really iconic. I mean, name a more iconic mascot other than maybe Mr. Met.
I can't.
Yeah, exactly. So the reason I have Mr. Red here at number 5, even though he's so iconic, is his family of official mascots is too big. So the Reds have Mr. Red, Mrs. Red, Mr. Red Legs. They have, I can't think of the name of it. It starts with an S, but it's like a dog, or the Mr. Red's furry companion is what his description is. It's too much. He's iconic. I love Mr. Red, but he gets dinged down to number 5 because his extended family, way too big. At number 4, we have Bernie Brewer of the Milwaukee Brewers. So Bernie Brewer has been around since 1973. He got shut down in the, I want to say it was the mid-90s when they were still in the, can't think of the name of the old stadium, the county stadium or whatever. And he had, before he got shut down, when there was a home run, he would chug a beer, slide down a slide into another pint of beer. It's like the ultimate trolling act. It's fantastic. I love watching home runs in Milwaukee, even though I hate the Brewers with a fiery, burning passion. The Brewers could suck forever, and I'd be happy with it as long as they could still hit home runs, because I want to watch him go down that slide. When they moved to Miller Park, which is now American Family Field or American Family Park or something.
I think you got it the first time, yeah.
American Family Field.
Yeah.
They brought the slide back, and he no longer has a giant beer mug that he's going into, which I think they should bring that back, because that just seems awesome. Like, who wouldn't want to bathe in just like a big ale? But, so yeah, so Bernie Brewer, number 4. At number 3, we have the Philly Fanatic. I can't tell you what the Philly Fanatic is. He's a big green thing.
He's a little creepy, to be honest.
Oh, he's scary. Like his tongue or something comes out of his nose and it just like shoots out like a frog's tongue. He's really fat, and please, chat, don't make comments about me. I know it's very fitting. But yeah, so the Philly Fanatic, he dances and moves his fat around, whatever. He pulls pranks on players. He's got an ATV that he rides around the stadium. And it's just it's just really fun to watch the Philly Fanatic. I see you, Lord Adorabler. I see you. But yeah, the Philly Fanatic is just fun. And then he's so fun. He's been ripped off multiple times. Orbit is pretty much a direct ripoff of the Philly Fanatic. Let's see here. At number 2 on the best mascots, we have Fredbird. You could argue I'm a little partial here. I will accept that critique. Although, notice he's not in first place. So it's not all bias. Fredbird is he's been around since 1978. But I love the guy. He's been around forever. He goes around to little kids and he starts pecking their heads with his beak. He actually sat on my face one time. I think I've got a picture of that somewhere. Kind of weird. I was really small. He's quite large. When he tries to sit on a child's lap, he ends up sitting directly in their face. So, but he's also got some really iconic moments too. Him with the rally squirrel, him with Team Fredbird. They just shooting T-shirts out, T-shirt cannons, dancing, hanging out with the Clydesdales. And then last year, Harrison Bader hit a monster home run into Big Mac Land, the very top of Big Mac Land, where yeah, Shrub Love, you did choose a pretty interesting time here. But yeah, Fredbird was painting up in Big Mac Land, walked away in the half inning. We come back, Harrison Bader hits a leadoff home run and hits the painting. And then I think they sold the painting and donated the money to charity. But just moments like that, you can't argue that that's not fantastic and worthy of him being one of the best. And he does have extended family. His mom comes out on Mother's Day and his dad comes out on Father's Day. But they're not always around the ballpark like the Red family. So I do have to ding him a little bit there. But it's not too much like it can be at Reds games. And then our number 1 best mascot is the Swinging Friar. I mean, he's just fantastic. So, I should have brought out my Friar robe. What was I thinking? Talk about a missed opportunity here. So the Swinging Friar has been around since 1958. He was back on the old brown and yellow uniforms. There's Swinging Friar Ale was named after them. That's one of the beers that's like the official beer of the San Diego Padres. Home wins, and in the 9th inning, he rings a bell every out of a save, and then he'll ring the bell again after the win. He's just probably one of the most randomly creative mascots I can think of. And his bald head, but I don't know. It's just perfect to me. So what are your opinions there on the top 5? Because we'll get to I only chose one of the worst, but we'll get to that in a minute. What are your opinions here on the top 5? What did I miss?
I like it. I'm definitely going to defer to you as the mascot expert of this podcast. But I did want to throw out I guess these are like sort of unofficial mascots, but the President's Race and the Sausage Race.
Yeah.
I think those are pretty nice traditions.
Yeah, those are good ones. They were honorable mentions, but since there's also the pierogies in Pittsburgh, and then San Diego does it occasionally, and so I thought there were too many teams that were kind of the same thing. So I felt it was, since I didn't want to include all of them, I figured it was best not to include any of them.
You know which one was the original? Was it the sausages?
I think it was the sausages. And the sausages, there were originally only 3. So the hot dog actually wasn't around for like 10 years, and then they added the hot dog. So it's what, a Polish sausage?
Polish.
What are they? Let's see.
It's bratwurst, right?
Yeah, that sounds right. Bratwurst, Polish sausage, and let's see.
I feel like kielbasa or something.
I'm trying to think what they're called. So, Racing Presidents, Rally Squirrel, Rangers Captain, the sausages. Here we go. So the sausages are the unofficial mascots of the Brewers. It is a German bratwurst, the Polish kielbasa, and the Italian sausage. And then in the late 90s, so those were the mid-90s, were the original three. The late 90s, they added the hot dog. And then in 2006, they debuted the Spanish chorizo. So,
what do you think about this as a 2021 addition to this tradition? They add Daniel Vogelbach to the race.
To the race?
Yeah, no, to the race.
To the race. Oh, God. Vogie, he would eat the sausages.
If he could catch them. I don't think he will.
I would be concerned that he would tackle them before the race started and then eat them and then, like, crawl to the finish line. But, dude, Vogie put on weight.
Yeah,
put on weight.
He looks like the old Brewers barrel man.
Or Prince Fielder.
Perfect for that team. Or Prince Fielder, yeah.
But yeah, so I think the sausages or the pierogies are probably the first ones. Yeah, so the pierogi race was inspired by the Brewers. The Racing Presidents obviously weren't around until at least 2005 when the Nationals existed. So that kind of answers that question. Let's see, yeah, the Racing Presidents was 2006. Whoops. Click the wrong button.
Let's hear your worst mascot.
So my absolute worst mascot in the major leagues, and I don't know if my buddy Matthew is watching. If he is, I apologize, but it's just terrible. Where's it at? I gotta find the. We've got Leiter for the Cleveland. I'm not gonna say their names. He's a direct ripoff of the Philly Fanatic. He's purple instead of green. But he's just the Philly Fanatic done poorly. Yes, the Philly Fanatic is kind of scary, but he's scary and just an absolute troll to players. Him and Orbit are both like done well, where they'll mess with players, they'll dance with umpires. Leiter, his biggest claim to fame is falling off the outfield wall in the 1995 ALCS and tearing ligaments in his knee. That's his claim to fame. He's a terrible mascot. But I don't know. I can't respect Leiter. Like, at least they didn't go with Chief Wahoo, I guess, because that would have been considerably worse. But I don't know. That's what I got. So, chat, who is your worst mascot? And then while we're looking for that, I guess, Gowie, you got any closing arguments, closing statements tonight?
Yeah, just a parting thought, I guess. Just really excited to have a full 162 this season. Like last season really didn't feel satisfying. I like the grind of the 6-month season, just the day in, day out nature of a baseball season, something to just have on in the background during the spring and summer, and really looking forward to talking baseball with you every week throughout the season.
Yeah. So that brings up a good point. We are planning on doing this same podcast every Monday night. 8:30 Eastern time is our current plan. If that changes, we will reflect that in the stream schedule on the page. So if you're watching or lurking or whatever, if you want those notifications, please follow the channel. We greatly appreciate the support. So thank you for joining us tonight in our very first podcast. I know if you're looking for non-baseball content, you can always come watch me on Birds on Bat. I'll put it in the chat here because there's no way that anyone's gonna remember it. But Birds on Bat, that's my personal channel. I stream some Fortnite over there. I open some baseball cards. I may open some baseball cards in this channel too. We'll just see how that goes. So if there's anything that you guys have is some maybe suggestions for the podcast or some I don't know, just anything that we can do to make this better, please send us a whisper on Twitch. I think we're planning on uploading these to YouTube as well. So I'll have to get that set up, and I am recording this right now, so we'll go ahead and get that put up so that people can find it later. So, player of the day. All right. I like that. We'll do player of the week since we're mostly going to do this on the getaway day of Monday, where there's fewer games. A new comment section to mess up. But yeah, so that's really all we've got. So thank you very much for joining us tonight, and have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thank you.